Congratulations for being here. Yeah, I mean, to give a quick background, I've now been working for 30 years, so in various sectors. So I worked as a shop floor engineer, then I worked in learning and development as a consultant. Then I worked in power transmission as a corporate employee doing financial modeling. Then worked in power distribution as a central engineering head, really understanding the on-ground challenges in a power distribution sector. Then last 7.5 years, I've been in the clean tech, especially fuel cells, hydrogen electrolyzers, and all. In parallel, I have been kind of working with few startups, particularly in the clean tech space. So that is one of the reasons I've been associated with IIIT. So I have recently joined the Energy and Resources Institute TERI. So we are setting up an Institute of Energy Transition in Hyderabad. So I'll be heading that. And one of the things we really want to also do is work with the startups, particularly in the clean tech space. Because if you ask me, um, in all the hard engineering areas, I think energy is the most happening space, and it's one of the foundational engineering disciplines. I remember from the time I chose this discipline, so I thought, okay, whatever may happen, but you need electricity or energy for anything to happen. So that's why I chose, and I'm happy to see that after 30 years, my hypothesis stood the test of time. And yeah, so we'll discuss more. Sanju, over to you.
Thank you, Kiran. Thank you, Kiran, for that, and thank you, Ravi, and the whole team for organizing this. And happy to see all the participants here. Like Kiran mentioned, energy is an important area where there is a lot of innovation that is required, not just in the front of generation, but also increasing efficiency in this area. And especially because India is a country which is developing at a very fast rate, and more people are moving from using appliances and to also now electric vehicles, which means energy need is increasing. With the AI revolution, there is more energy need. With increasing production, there is more energy need that is coming, and um, and we need a lot of youngsters to work in this area, in innovation. So to talk about me, I've been working in mostly adaptation and resilience in the area of climate change for the last 10 years. I started off my journey and working in Alapura, Vembanad, which is you might have heard about the Alapura backwaters. Yeah, so I worked there. I started my career there with Ashoka Trust for Research in Ecology and Environment. We predominantly work there on participatory conservation of the wetland system, um, which also means that Vembanad is a heavily used wetland. While at the same time, Vembanad also provides livelihood to almost 1.5 million people. So our task was to ensure that the region is protected, and we empower the communities to be able to protect and conserve the region. One of the major projects that we worked on was on developing a model wetland village in a place called Mohamma, where in fact Abdul here was also part of one of the training programs because on water hyacinth, because water hyacinth is a major threat there. And we tested and tried several models of innovation for conservation of this heavily used region. Later on, I co-founded Sustera Foundation, which I'm currently the CEO of, and we predominantly work on capacity building youth on climate action front. And we also create various programs that are suited to help and support youngsters who want to work in the larger domain of climate change and sustainability. And we also closely work with local bodies who can then build resilience to climate change. I mean, in terms of climate change itself, uh, what India predominantly needs is the damage that is that it needs to be done is already done. It's already done, and it's getting even worse in terms of global warming and emissions. And as we speak, there is a heavy rainfall happening in several southwest region of India, and I mean, related to climate change, a lot of damage has been done. But now, what we can best do is to help communities and governments and local governments, panchayats build resilience to be prepared for various disasters. At the same time, also limiting emissions to the best, and at the same time, ensuring justice for all, climate justice for all, so that limiting emissions wouldn't come as a problem for communities who are yet to move out from their of poverty and access, being able to access every requirement and need that they have. So this is a bit about me. I'm also a United Nations Youth Climate Leader for the UN India office. Worked on various projects, mostly on capacity development and training, be it on ecosystem restoration, mobility, resilient cities, and so on. We at Sustera also do a lot of work on career, helping and supporting individuals who want to work in the climate sector. This climate sector itself is not just like one sector; it has multiple areas under climate, which, if possible, we'll touch upon today. So I will now let Kiran take over and give his uh, introductions and further talk, and then I'll come back.
Yeah, yeah. As you may know, maybe we can do a little bit of interspersing, right, as we move forward. So when it comes to startups, right? So one of the things I would like to bring to the table is that what motivates startup founders, right? And what should they keep in mind? Because I'll tell you, see, for 30 years I've been working in a job, right? Yeah, many times I felt that, oh, I should do something on my own, but then it's late. I do have the financial resources, blah blah blah, and so many reasons, right? But one thing I would advise as a mentor for a few startups, one thing I would definitely bring on to everyone's notice is, say, startup is a place where you are not doing it for survival, right? So when I started my career, I had to survive. I needed to earn, right, to pay my rent and all that. But I think today's generation has, I would say, the luxury and also a little bit of motivation and support, both from, not just from family, but also from the society, from the government, and the whole ecosystem is there now for startups to kind of dream beyond survival. So it's very very important to kind of start thinking from that perspective, a place of self expression, right, trying to solve true problems that they notice. And typically, see, the real problems are experienced by people. So a lot of times we say, okay, this problem government should solve, or companies should solve, or investors should solve, and all. But if you see, ultimately at the bottom, we are all individuals. So we experience problems, and when we experience the problems, our heart and mind says, boss, this has to be solved. We cannot live like this, right? Whether even if it is climate adaptation or climate solutions, in either case, the problem is experienced by you. And what I'm saying is, just don't look for survival, look beyond survival. So bring some innovation to the table, right? So that is the first thing I would say. So from your side, what is one thing you think Sanju will add value for a startup founder to think, or someone who is already doing something or wanting to do something? What should they do? What should they think about?
Yeah, it might be a bit long, but anyway, I anyway thought of talking
Please.
about this. So myself, at the age of I think 23, I guess, yeah, started a social enterprise called Bava, which focused on upcycling of pre-owned fabric into bags. It was a social startup, not a pure climate tech startup, but a startup which worked on circular economy and was founded in Alapura. At this particular time, the reason why we came out with this organization or startup was the issue we saw in Vembanad. Now, the Vembanad region, which is quite huge, it's a Ramsar site, which is protected site, has seen a lot of changes over the last few years. And one of the major changes that the community itself has mentioned is the issue of reducing fish catch. Now, a lot of people are dependent there on the fish availability and fish catch, and they have seen a drastic reduction in fish catch. And one of the reason was the increasing temperature of the waters. And the other reason was also plastic pollution, because as some of you might already know, the if you're consuming fish, it's been said by WWF that we consume a credit card size worth of plastic every day, because that is the amount of plastic that reaches water bodies and then it disintegrates. Phytoplanktons grow on them, small fish eat the phytoplanktons with the plastic, and bigger fishes eat the phytoplanktons, and then we eat the bigger fishes. And because of plastic pollution, the amount of fishes density and diversity also was reducing. So this is a problem that I was visibly seeing in the region. And when we did a survey to understand where this all the plastic comes from, at that particular point of time, most of the plastic came in the form of carry bags. And of course, nowadays also the external packaging that comes of starting from milk to others. Now, we thought, how can we solve this issue even in a smaller way by starting something, and that's how Baba came into action. So the idea here was that how can we create an alternative for carry bags, which can be used for a long term, which is usable, user friendly, while at the same time providing additional income to fishing community members, especially women. And what we essentially did was we went to schools and colleges, collected saris, which is this beautiful material that all our moms and sisters use, and then converted them into bags, created various designs, started selling it as usable, reusable small pouch bags, and uh, within 2 to 3 years, this organization grew really big. As in, we had around 60 women making an additional income of between 6,000 to 15,000 per month, additional income apart from the fishing job that they do. And we also introduced a lot of other products and so on. But to answer your question, Kiran, I mean, eventually it failed though, because 2022 was when I left my full-time job to focus on Baba. By then it was almost 3 years now, and I left my job to focus on Baba, but then COVID hit, and like a lot of other organizations and startup, ours also had to be shut down because we didn't have the resources to sustain for a longer period. People started having apprehension in using bags made of pre-on fabric, and various of our products were usually sold at stalls and exhibits, which never happened for almost 2 years. So all of this came, but the learnings that I got from this 3 years is more like having done two MBAs, because you learn a lot.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I mean, I mean, i- is it okay if you fail? It's okay if you fail. I mean, to start off with the worst case, it's okay if you fail because you learn a lot. I have learned a lot. I would have never experienced all of this if not for Power. But it's eventually, yes, it's identifying a problem that a community face or a larger group face, seeing a potential in creating a market for something, be it a B2C or a B2B, business to business or business to consumer product, and then or a technology, and then utilizing it, and then evolving and innovating and further growing. And now the atmosphere is even more better, because I think there's a lot of talk happening around climate tech. There is a lot of innovation that is required. There is a lot of government spending, so much innovation support that is coming, like, for example, IIIT, and even TERI being able to and wanting to support organizations and startups. So I feel that the environment is becoming much better for startups. But yes, finding the right niche, finding problems to be solved, and then being able to invest yourself, your time, your passion, your money sometimes, your friends' money, your family's money sometimes you'll have to borrow, because I personally had to borrow from friends and family, the achana, my dad, mom, whatnot. So all of this is part of the journey. Yeah, but I'll pass it on to Kiran now.
Yeah, thanks for bringing the money part because yeah, I wanted to kind of lay it out here during my interactions with evaluating many startups and also where few places where I've invested. So one thing is very important. While the idea is important and the vision is important, but I think it is the people who actually other people end up investing in. Because remember one thing, when you are trying to solve a problem, one, the problem is fairly visible by the time you get to a solution, right? That means others also know the problem. That means they're also trying to solve it in different ways. So that means you are not alone in solving the problem. So then what is the differentiation? At least in the initial stage, it is the person who is standing behind the idea, his commitment, right? What is he trying to derive from it? Is he just trying to derive his own survival, or his own he's enjoying doing it, right? So even the passion part is good. Is he just trying to earn money, or just trying to earn recognition, right? Or create his own identity? Or is he really trying to create something which others will use? So that is when you kind of start crossing from the selfish zone and trying to move to the holistic zone, right? So once you are thinking that, okay, let me create something that others will use, is the first step, right? So then comes, okay, how do I integrate this, whatever I'm working on, as a part of me, and me as a part of that? So that's the next level of integration that I would see, because things are not going to go smoothly, right? So you make certain assumptions, you make certain calculations, and you say, okay, this is how it is going to be. And I mean, just as everyone on the call would have experienced, you think about a journey, right? So tomorrow I'm going to Mumbai, for example, IIT Mumbai. I have a certain thinking in mind. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do, this is what is going to happen and all. But I know for sure, after doing so much of traveling in the last 2 years, that everything that I assume is wrong, it is only directionally right. Only thing I know is that I'm going in this direction. But whom I am going to meet, what they are going to say, how I am going to interact, what is that I'm going to learn, is all is very, very dynamic, right? But what is constant is my motivation. So in a startup, the founder or the founding team being the core strength is very, very critical, because then only they will be able to adapt to what is happening around, then pivot if required, or do some level of calibration, change what is necessary, and then still stay with the problem. Because most of the times people think that, okay, finding a solution and then kind of replicating and scaling is what makes a company grow. But I would say that defining the problem, staying with the problem, right, is as much important as finding a solution and developing the solution, because the problem is constantly evolving. By stay keeping one eye on what is the problem I'm trying to solve, you are always continuously at the same time refining your solution or the product or service that you're offering. So that is something very, very important. So Sanju, I think what you tried to do was a little bit of adaptive solution, right? So you try to bring change in people's behavior, right? So typically, my experience, I've seen two types of solutions, right? One is a technical solution, second is an adaptive solution. And if you put them at opposite, they look like opposite ends of a spectrum, because technical solutions are typically very clear, very well defined, and all you have to do is find a solution and just repeat it. Adaptive, on the other hand, are very complex, ambiguous, and also evolve, right? Evolve because every stakeholder is also responding to what is happening. They're not static, they're not passive, they're dynamic. If you're doing something, they're responding. Sometimes it creates a competitive loop, sometimes it creates a constructive loop as well, right? So what was your experience during this startup that really keeps you motivated, that you feel really good about, even when you think about it, even though kind of had to close it?
Oh, I mean, there are so many things. One is that, I mean, to start off with, when you are a founder, you'll have to wear several hats, right? Like, I'm sure you might have also met founders who wear several hats. Like, you'll have to do the hiring, so you'll have to learn how to do the hiring, the HR process. You'll have to learn to design sometimes. Now, at least nowadays, AI can help a lot with that part. You'll have to create probably your own website. At that point of time, I learned Wix by myself, did my own website and updated it, ensured, you know. You'll have to look into marketing. You'll have to do the market study sometimes. So uh, on one end, it could get a bit hectic while handling multiple of these, but somehow that passion and inside you keeps going. So that is also where to find the right co-founders comes in. Having most of the time startups with just one person, usually I've seen is that it fails sometimes because of the fact that one person will have to deal with all things. But we are all human beings, so we all sometimes need to ask or have mentor to ask or have a partner to ask a question. Okay, is this right, is this wrong? So having that mentorship was crucial for us also at that point, because we had several mentors, by the way. For example, we were part of NSR cells incubation, and such incubation was helpful then. The same way, I had two co-founders, so I was full time on the ground, but they were they were only silent partners. So, but still, whenever something was required, we would have meetings, have discussions, all of that. And most importantly, for I think it's generally for any startup, be it a tech one or a like adaptive one that you mentioned. One thing that is important is collaboration. Sometimes we are
Mm.
aversive of collaboration. Like we would think, okay, are they going to steal the concept or idea or so? And then should we collaborate? Should we keep it open? And things like that. Should we talk to this person about this idea or concept? Um, I think we should move away from that aspect and be able to talk. And for example, in the project that we worked, we had three collaborators, direct collaborators. One was the organization itself. We collaborated with the local panchayat in a region because having the panchayat on board means having the local body in the in our organization and being part of it makes a whole difference because they are able to provide resources. They are able to they might steal some thunder for sure, but that is totally fine. But they are able to collaborate and support. They're able to bring in funds. For example, some of the sewing machines that we had, as an example, it was provided by the panchayat. They provided space for doing it. We only had to ensure that we pay living wages to all the employees. And the same way, we had a NGO who was part of our journey. So we had ATRI who was part of the journey. So they also provided support. They through the organization there were these campaigns that was done across, and so there was an alignment.
Mm.
Even during my work at A-Tree, we supported a few startups working in climate tech space to use the space as for innovation and discussion and so on, which was helpful for them too. For example, we had work around circular economy on developing black soldier fly larvae from food waste. So the idea was to generate larvae from food waste to be provided as fish feed for farmers or
Mm.
chicken feed for poultry running people. So where the incubation support was provided by the NGO. The same way, there was someone who wanted to work on. I mean, you might be familiar with. I mean, you work in hydrogen, so someone wanted to work on replacing the houseboat. I'm sure all of you know about
Mm,
all
mm,
about the
mm.
houseboats,
Yeah. Yeah.
houseboat engines into hydrogen ones. So
Right.
we facilitated a person for almost 6 months to come there and talk to houseboat owners, try to test models and see how things are. Would people be able to buy? Would businesses buy this? What can we set up a hydrogen generation station there? What are the possibilities and all of that? So I think, yeah, I can keep going, but yeah, I hope it answers. Now, Kiran, could you talk about some of the startups that you worked with? I think that is also important in the sense, what are the kind of areas that has been growing now, and what are the kind of innovations even government is looking for adapting for the larger economic change that we are observing?
Yeah, yeah, I think, yeah, good point. Thanks for asking that. See, one thing I have noticed is none of these sectors are completely operating in isolation. So everything is connected, right? So, for example, if you talk about agriculture, so it has a connection with climate tech. It has a connection with, when I say agri PV, for example, it has a connection with energy and agriculture. So everything, and water, for example, it has connection again, right? And the circularity has a lot of connection because every product that we use has embedded energy in it, embedded energy along with embedded carbon in it. So circularity kind of is one of the easiest ways to contribute to sustainability, right? Similarly, habitats like building sector. So it is something which is growing, and India is. I mean, a lot of times we will be surprised that we are still in the starting phase. That means India has a long journey. And when it comes to energy itself, right? Fundamentally, we import a lot of energy. So one is displacing that energy, that imported energy, and reducing our energy intensity, using it intelligently, and at the same time increasing the bang for the energy used, that means the outcome from energy used, is also a major lever for us to really do well as a country which is developed but not as energy intensive as any other developed countries. See, so there's a trick here. See, India is inherently a very eco-friendly, environment-friendly culture. See, in my childhood, I mean, there was nothing that goes waste. Everything is goes into one corner and then it is used as manure. We had that kind of culture. But we also have the
True.
aspiration of the West. So we are seeing all the
Mm-hmm.
technology, all the lifestyles coming from that side, right? And the other thing is we have a large population that is energy hungry, and the climate change is going to drive more and more energy usage, right?
True.
Uh, right. So I mean, when I think about summers, I mean today is cooler, so I'm not thinking so much. But whenever it is hot, I think about the amount of air conditioning load that is going to come, right? And urban locations are not very nice. I mean, rural at least you can go out, and also air conditioning is going to grow dramatically. So and then finally, the affordability of energy is increasing, right? So energy cost, if you think about it, from say 20 years 30 years back to now, the energy cost has actually gone down,
Mm-hmm.
right? The base number might look like it has increased, but if from inflation perspective it has gone down, the share of wallet has actually gone down, right? So that means the affordability is increasing, so people are going to use more and more energy for betterment of human lifestyle. So we are going to use more and more machinery, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here I would say from a climate tech perspective, when someone comes into the space, my advice or my recommendation is don't try to solve one problem, one unidirectional, right? Don't be a single trick pony, right? So try to look at the multi dimensions of the space you are trying to go get into, or try to look at what are the different aspects and different stakeholders, how everything is going to get impacted. For example, one startup that I worked was initially they said we will do IoT, right? So that was like
Mm-hmm.
what 8 years back. So when they came to me, I was in a particular department. I was looking at renewables, energy audit, and all that. So then I told them, see, IoT is good. You're solving a physical problem, but at the same time also solve my another problem which is very adjacent. So you help me know the state of my device in the field, but also help me measure the energy that is flowing through that route. So there is communication you are setting up. You are putting a sensor, but put one more sensor so that the value that I derive from that solution is much higher than what you are thinking right now. So, so it's very important as a startup to go and interact with your customer, understand the problems, not only problem, but which part of the problem has higher value. So value can be in terms of the effort that is put in. Value can be in terms of the revenue impact. Value can be in terms of the cost impact or time impact or people impact. So it can be many dimensions the value could be. It need not be always in terms of money, right? And always don't start with the existing solution as a benchmark. Existing solution is the benchmark, but that is not the final benchmark. You have to think from an ideal state. So that means one is you are approaching from the current state situation to a certain space, but also looking at ideal state. That means which is futuristic, maybe science fiction. So from science fiction space, now come back and say, okay, what is that I can do now? So what is that I solve now from current space, and coming from a future perspective, what is that I can do right now? So that will help you stay, I mean, aspire for the right space. Otherwise, you might be very happy with simply solving a small problem, right? Then you are only incremental. You are not
Mm-hmm.
transformational, right? Only when you kind of create that aspiration into your product or solution, you are creating a lot of value for the all the stakeholders, right? So one of the limitation of startups I have seen is they try to solve, like for example, in hydrogen electrolyzers, right? So I've seen many startups come up with, oh, the cost is high, so therefore I have to reduce the cost. Or someone says the energy consumption, the energy per kg of hydrogen is high, so let me reduce only that. But I say don't do that. Look at all the attributes: space, weight, flexibility, energy, cost, all these attributes. Then look at,
Yeah.
okay, where are others and where can I be? Where can my solution be? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you do that, then you are improving your value proposition significantly rather than one dimension. Because if you focus on only on one dimension, tomorrow someone has a breakthrough, then you are completely out of business,
True.
right? So these are, I mean, while you might be working on something minimum viable product so that you can go into the market, don't leave the thinking. So yeah, so revenue focus is good, but the research focus should not be left out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, so these are some thoughts when you ask me the
Yeah.
questions. So, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think uh, what you rightly said is important to be able to be adaptable and also constantly changing. Because I feel like yesterday day before there was a Google summit where they launched a lot of AI tools and new aspects to the AI that they already have. And someone put a news that suddenly now a lot of AI startups which raised funding is now obsolete because Google pretty much covers it all. So,
absolutely.
so I mean, having various use cases, having various customers set in mind becomes quite crucial. And in the area of climate tech space, I also believe that it doesn't have to be a new technology that you're developing or a
Yes,
new product that you're developing. It can be an existing technology or product or idea or solution that is being tested else in some other part of the world, and then you are just replicating it for the wider audience in India. Because yeah, I mean that way you can you don't necessarily have to invest a lot on the research part, while you only have to regionalize it or localize it for India.
right.
And India is a big market
Yeah,
because it is a major chunk of the population. It is fastest growing, one of the fastest growing economy, and there is better support than ever now. Now, I mean, support some of these startups that and I could just think of is one is Rutella Carbon. It's based out of Europe somewhere. So what they do is they rebalances the soil microbiome to enhance sequestration. uh, I mean, a very simple concept, but they do it in a professional manner using an application, using an integration. The same way there is someone called Agrina who works with farmers on regenerative practices and ensure that they also get access to carbon markets. So they have developed these simple mechanisms to analyze and improve soil health. There is also an organization, a company which what I mean, what they do is unlike the same model of how dams work, they have a liquid that they have developed, which is being pumped during the morning hours onto a higher surface, and which has higher viscosity. And in the evening when there is energy required, they run the dam so that there is enough energy that is generated. There's something called clarity movement, which works again on subscription-based air quality monitoring for local bodies. They provide the devices for free, and local bodies can use the data, and they ensure the maintenance of the systems and all of that. And it's also accessible to students for a free rate or a subsidized rate. Uh, uh, and uh, and there is so many technology on mobility, especially in India, also that is being required now. Not just in the space of electric vehicles, but also in innovations in pedal cycles, making pedaling easy, because Amsterdam and London have now completely moved to having a majority of the vehicles in the city to just cycles. Most of the vehicles are now just cycles. Now they're actually changing the whole set of rules of transport based on keeping cycles as the biggest mode of transportation on mind. So, I mean,
yes,
and how can that be done? Like, one thing for sure is that people doesn't have to pedal nowadays as much as it used to be, because you have pedal assist cycles. So that people don't have to sweat cycling all the way to office or home. So how can these brought in the same way? I mean, even for that matter, just to talk about support, the UK government is also providing visa to Indian startups, who green startups. They for 5-year visa. In fact, one of my colleagues who runs tree tag, what they do is they tag trees and monitor it for 5 years using drones. And their startup was supported to come to the UK and given 5-year talent visa where they can come here and set up. And now the founder is here in London. They're based here, and then all they have to do is set up the organization here, build customers here, You can access the whole, and you can be in the UK, you get exposed. So even that exposure makes a lot of sense. And a
Yes.
lot of other countries are also now doing that. Like for example, Denmark is supporting organizations. Canada, Singapore, Netherlands, Portugal all have visas that sort of help these young startups to come and set up their organizations or collaborate with international universities, etc. So I think yeah, the opportunities are quite wide and open. Yeah, but Kiran, do you want to add more to that?
Yeah, I think the key word here is one is collaboration, second is global market, right? So it's while yeah, obviously we are in touch with the local ground reality. That is where the startup gets the initial desire to solve. However, we have to remember that world over we are chasing the same problem or trying to solve the same problem, but with certain different dimensions. That's all, right? So therefore, it's very important to study what is happening across the world in that particular space. One, you might get, as you said, you get already there is a solution. You have to localize it. That could be one benefit. Second is the reverse of it. You solve a problem here. Can you take it global? Can you talk collaborate with someone and take it global and enhance the value, right? So the third one is, as you rightly said, some countries are offering these kind of programs, and I mean there are so many agencies which are supporting it. I mean, look at what AAC at IIIT is doing. So last cohort, I met very interesting startups, right? So there are many opportunities. So therefore I think it's very important to systematically have a screening mechanism to kind of look for what are the opportunities to collaborate, what are the opportunities to get support from on a regular basis. And last part of the collaboration that you described in your startup is a very important one, because ultimately you need a demonstration, because only when you are able to physically demonstrate something the value gets proven, and
True.
also the ability to assess the willingness to pay by the customer is really required. So somewhere I think these two are the practical reality that will help a startup move into a ideation phase to into a revenue phase, because the real scaling will happen when you actually have a revenue that is repetitive. So somewhere collaborating with customers from the early phase, being their partners, not treating them as customers, but co-creating, co-solving is very
True.
critical. Because many times what I've noticed is startups don't understand the problem fully,
Mhm.
right? So they get into it, they think that they have a brilliant idea, and see, sometimes it is very useful to acknowledge the limitations, but you should not cut short the problem statement itself, because okay, I'm only solving this part of the problem right now is okay, rather than saying that okay, this is the only problem, this is the problem, that's all, right? Then if you are ignoring the parts of the problem, your solution will never become a comprehensive one. So yeah, focus on the highest value part of the problem, but remember that the problem has multi facets, and to understand that, to deepen that, collaboration with the customer, collaboration with other stakeholders is also very important, and also need to understand why you are getting support. For example, you meet someone and share your idea, so you see someone gets very excited, and my recommendation would be don't get excited assuming that he's also thinking in you in the same way. No, ask him why that person is also excited. There is some reason behind it, because if you understand that, then your vision also will expand. So when you have that kind of expanded vision, then your communicating with stakeholders and customers will become far more easy, and your
True.
collaborations becomes far more productive. So
True.
these are some thoughts,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, so I just quickly something came into my mind is that we did a India Evolve Innovation Challenge, which was focused on the last mile parcel delivery sector. I'm sure like most of us order from parcels from online, and
Yeah.
nowadays Zomato, Swiggy, Zepto, and all of these are also there. Now, India apparently orders 4 billion parcels now, which is expected to grow by 40 billion by 2030, which is just 5 years from now. And 40 billion by 2030 means so many vehicles are on the ground. And we had this innovation challenge, and one of the startups came also be part of the challenge. Um, they were on a closed mindset where their technology was a battery-based technology, a new technology for large-scale storage of energy, and they never thought of the idea to be used as a last mile parcel delivery as a use case. they were restricted to certain kind of thinking. Of the battery can only be used for say industries or so. But when they opened up their mindset to, okay, this is a use case, or there is a 10 time growth in this sector, and all these vehicles which are going to be mostly electric, two-wheelers delivering parcels which are electric, can use these particular best storage systems for larger uptake, is a new perspective that they got. So also to add, when you're working on tech startups or climate tech startup, it is important to have these various customer in mind. How all can you get them, and very thinking of what are the businesses, understanding, unlike like the growth in the last mile parcel delivery. Who would actually think of last mile parcel delivery sector? I mean, you're not given to think about such a sector, right? So how can you understand that particular growth in areas? Now, apart from that, I also just wanted to touch upon a few areas that are growing in climate tech. One is hyperlocal weather prediction, because a lot of local bodies are now wanting to have hyperlocal weather prediction that is available. The soil carbon enhancement is becoming important, because there is one, we have soil that we already been using has been saturated now. So enriching it, at the same time increasing its potential to collect. The same way, modeling for flood and storm, early detection for wildfire. In fact, there are some international models. I mean, India has a large area of forest, including Western Ghats and other regions. So wildfires becoming common. The same way, in water resilience, there are a lot of flood risk is an important area. My wife works as a water sector. She works on climate adaptation in water areas and water utilities, because water demand is also increasing in India. At the same time, the risks are also increasing in India. Then there is also a lot around biodiversity and nature, restoration practices, rewilding, and technology on that front is also coming up. Then there are a lot of finance-based projects also, like innovative finance in climate tech, climate risk assessment, because a lot of companies do face this climate risk, and that's where the ESG sector and all comes in. So climate risk professionals and startups that work on climate risk are becoming important. So I think there are generally a lot of, especially in adaptation and resilience for India. India is going to require a lot of innovation in this sector. While I do say that, I also want to add that doesn't mean that we should like jump into starting off something unless um, you have like a, while it's certainly a journey that is rewarding. Yeah, it can also be tough. It can, you could have bad nights, stressful days. It's not easy at all. Like, I mean, I haven't really worked on climate tech, though mentored a few, but yeah, it's not an easy journey, but it's certainly something that can help you a lot in terms of, as I said, like I've uh, it for me it was like doing one or two MBAs by itself. So that kind of learning that you wouldn't get anywhere else. So yeah, probably I'll listen to Kiran, and then we can take any final questions. If you have any questions, you can raise your hands or put it in the chat so that one of us can answer. But Kiran, if you want to wind up on that, yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, I think we should let the audience ask some questions. That kind
Uh,
of, yes.
Hi. Hello.
Yes. Go ahead.
Am I audible, visible?
Yes. Both.
Okay. So hi, quickly, I'm Anushwa from AIC-IIITH. Uh, I'm the analyst with the team, and I just want to thank Sanju and Kiran so much for your contribution today, and I'm sure it has really helped a lot of startups, and I'm sure they have questions also. Quickly, I'll just say about the purpose of today's online session. Uh, we launched our ESIP cohort, which is the EPAM Social Impact Innovation Program. It is a climatic cohort that we run every year, and this is the 4th year that we're doing it. It is a CSR cohort run by EPAM Systems India, and we do the CSR for them. So we are looking for really good, impactful startups who can join our program, and that is why we are like doing events and all. So I'm sure we have your details and everything. I'll send you the application link. Please go through it, uh, see if it fits your profile and everything. Yeah, that is it. Okay, I'll hand it over to anyone who has questions.
Yeah, Harsh, go for it.
Hi, sir. My name is Harsh Shanta, and I'm currently a founder at a clean tech startup. But looking ahead, I really want to get inside carbon capture and direct carbon capture. It motivates me a lot, and I find it fascinating. For example, if we take biochar, it is nice, as sir mentioned, that the soil needs carbon now. But again, if we make biochar, no one is ready to buy it. So I see the complete market flawed and it is difficult to exist in that market. So what is the solution for that?
Yeah, great question. See, there is never a market readily available. If the market is readily available, there are already some service providers or suppliers, right? So it's therefore one, you need to understand your solution truly, so that when you go to a potential customer, you are able to kind of relate to them, right? And start with your own persona, right? So one is, don't do it because it is going to give money, right? Because only do something where you are really connected to it, where you scientifically know what you're doing is valid and all that. Then it becomes all the more easy for you to connect with people who will believe in what you are saying, right? So initially, kind of getting a customer to use your product and help you document the benefits, that itself is a value, right? Ideally I would want him to pay, but then yeah, so if I'm getting a chance to test my product in the field and actually document, that's a good beginning to start with. And once there is value proven, then the customer will be happy to pay for you. Because see, we might say that we want everything free, but we all know that nothing is free, and
Uh,
we better want to pay it directly from the top pocket rather than someone taking it from a back pocket, right?
Got it, sir.
So building that customer trust is what is very critical. So you have to look at that also as a phase of your startup rather than a revenue phase. So
Got it,
once you
sir.
have a customer who gives you a testimonial, your confidence will increase 1,000 times,
Sir.
right? So yeah, that is what I would recommend on
So
that.
it's a very genuine feedback. But moreover, I see in the climate tech space, it is always a trade-off between price and environment. You have to pay a higher price if you want to save the environment, and most of the time, I've seen that price wins. The people are more adapted to price. Wherever they find cheap things, they go there. So I'm not still able to figure out that how can we reduce that price and how can we nudge those people to buy these things where price is something that is very critical here in India, especially. And same if we do the same thing in Europe or America, then there are different parameters. But in India, when there is a trade-off between price and environment, how should we tackle it? And that is my
Good
question.
question. This is something I've been struggling also, right? Struggling to understand, right? Not struggling with the problem per se. See, one of the challenges people go to price is because there is no trust on the other parameters. See, for example, if someone says an organic apple and a normal apple, right? My heart says go for the organic one because you want to eat safe,
Yes,
right?
sir.
But if the price is say 2x, then I'll compromise. One,
Sir.
that is one potential. Second is, if I don't believe in this organic sticker, then I will say, boss, everything is same in the market, so let me go for it, right?
Sir.
But if you start noticing it, people are always willing to pay a little bit of premium for a good
Sir.
quality product, right?
Yes, sir.
So I don't know which phone you use. I don't use an Apple phone, but I'm still telling you that people are paying a significant premium for that because there is a trust that has already got established.
Sir.
Sometimes it might look like, oh, there is a aspirational value. No, it is not just aspirational value. People, once they get used to it, they realize there is value in it. So that cultivating the trust is a little bit of a challenging thing, right? When the norms, see, one of the challenges is also the suppliers are also people cut corners. Let me be honest with you. So that creates a low trust environment. So when you say that I stand for my product, I am okay to fail, I am okay to not sell, right? But if the
Sir.
other person genuinely says that, okay, this is my affordability, I would want to really collaborate with you, partner with you, then the game changes from a transaction to a partnership.
Got it,
So
sir.
from a transaction perspective, obviously, I will also want to go for the cheapest one. But if it is a
Sir.
partnership, then my whole mindset changes.
Got it, sir.
So I have to kind of look for those value propositions where that you can increase the trust and increase the willingness to pay because you're offering much more than you are asking for.
Got it, sir. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Harsh, I also just wanted to add that, I mean, in general, also for climate tech startups, sometimes the use cases, in your case, something like the biochar, might not be readily available on the mindset of people who might want it or want to use it. So you might also have to create this idea of what are the use cases and educate and do awareness on why and where biochar can be used and how a particular industry or let's say farmers or a manure company can use it and profit from it. So you might have to do the study for them and tell them that, okay, by using your product, they are going to benefit X. So you will have to put these thoughts into their head through presentations, through trainings, through email, through newsletters. And so basically you have to create the market for them also to think that way. For especially technologies like with concepts like biochar, and also showcase how if you are going to get carbon credits or so from it and how that works and how monetarily they get benefited or a percentage goes to them or how it can be used or even how it can help them offset their emissions, for example, by using your product in some of the so sometimes you'll have to discover use cases, pitch the use case to them and not the product.
Got it, sir. Thanks a lot.
Okay, we have a question in the chat box.
I think Appcons Infra, I can't see your name. Are you? Yeah, I
Yes,
think you
I'm
put
here.
your video on for a question.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
go ahead, please.
We've been working on water sector. So, like it's been almost a 3 years journey for us being into this sector. So, there are a few challenges that we look into it because we work on proprietary technology, which is working on the principles and techniques of phycoremediation, which works on the microalgae that works. So we work on lake rejuvenation projects. We work on integrating in STPs and ETPs. Apart from that, we will also work on the river stretches to basically treat it. And we basically work out in terms of recycling the water and even recycling it to a level wherein that water can be reused into the agriculture. Apart from this, we also look into getting into the industrial setups where as Mr. Kiran is there. So as he said about the energy, so even thermal power stations has a lot of produced water that comes in, which is also a big headache for these organizations. So we
Yeah,
also to try to basically enter into that segment to where if we can enter because our case study says like when we were able to basically reduce the energy load in a STP and ETP by 70% that we have done in
mm,
Karnataka. So we have reduced the cost of running the aerators from 24 hours to limiting to about 45 minutes a day. And the DO level is being achieved even much higher what is being given. So when they were achieving about 4.5 DO level with 24 hours of aeration, wherein we have achieved about 6.6 without even running the aerators. Our technology is now being approved by Central Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, by Ministry of Jal Shakti, Amrit under Amrit 2. It has also been recognized by Swachh Bharat Gramin. Apart from this, we are also being highlighted in World Economic Forum for zero water discharge and urban water management. So, like my question is this basically, since we have different perspective to enter into it, the challenge is to enter into the market
Mm.
because adoptability is a major challenge because you have a product which is basically universally be acceptable.
Mm.
And we are doing projects in collaboration with Central Ministry. We are doing projects in collaboration with NGOs and a lot of other CSR funds also that we are looking at. So making a forward, basically CSR, what we look into is being a CSR implementing agency is a far better option than going to a government organization, basically that makes a way for us. The challenge is how to approach it being a startup to get the CSR implementing agency.
Yeah, I can go first. Yeah, so FICO remediation is something a lot of organizations are also now working. In fact, in fact, 2 years back, we there was an international organization who wanted to work in India, and then they asked us to connect us to the local bodies. So one challenge certainly is that a lot of people are now working on it. So what makes you probably different would be for example, as you said, there is a zero residue that comes out and so on. So if that is something critical and crucial, and still you're able to provide in
Yeah, it works on like GHG, greenhouse gases effect. Basically, it reduces the greenhouse effect. It also captures the carbon,
mm,
which basically entitles, because like recent what one project that we are doing is a nine
mm,
and a half acres lake that we are treating since
mm,
last 9 months, and we have achieved
mm,
remarkable results in this. So we have cut down the sludge in the waterbed. We have improved the water quality, DO level,
mm,
BOD. Everything is into the limits as
mm,
prescribed by Central Pollution Control Board and NGT. We
mm,
have also, captured about 56 tons of carbon, which is a good amount of carbon. Basically, it can even been, if we capture it in a city level wise or a state level wise, basically it forms a great carbon credit
mm,
points also.
mm,
So
mm,
so my question that comes in is because like how do you integrate with ESG and CSR? The question is like to get the funds. Because if
mm,
I go directly to the municipal corporations or like
mm,
ULBs or to the government, it is a very lengthy process to go. Second is the adoptability is very restricted because the
mm,
people are least adoptable in terms of getting into these.
mm,
So when you go
mm,
in a PPP mode with the CSR funds in the project, so it becomes easy for us to basically approach a municipal corporation with with the CSR funds and
yeah,
basically execute it. So how can
yeah.
we bridge this gap?
Yeah, yeah.
Because
I'll give you a quick example of what we have been doing.
Mhm,
Now, we have been doing a larger project on in Kerala,
mhm,
where we are setting up barriers that can collect plastic that passes through the rivers. So, various river area mouths and all, we put these barriers, and plastic is being collected. So, where we are not the implementing agency, we are the agency through which the program comes in, where we're doing it for Trivandrum and with the municipal corporation, but the implementing agency is a different company, a private limited company who has been leased the project to be done through a CSR fund. So it is possible that the first thing to do would be to identify CSR funders, build licensing with them to see if they are going to believe in this project and how you can showcase it as a benefit for the community. So now once that is done, while in the pitch itself, you can mention the amount of carbon emission reduction, but then that all also have to be calculated in terms of the carbon emission reduction as credits, or how they can limit it, or if it is can be approved under Vera standards or gold standards for that. But then if once you figure out a funder, let's say SBI is a philanthropy, they have SBI Foundation, which puts in large amount of CSR on water, and you found them, you pitched it, you found them. The same way, even Rohini Nilekani Foundation works on water. Then you can then find an NGO or an organization that works on this, and through the NGO, you can get a sublease of the projects. So that is how usually it works. Even GIZ does a lot of similar projects by subleasing grants through organizations, but the eventual implementing partner, if it's a technology, would be someone different where the NGO gives it. But at the same time, the NGO, in some cases, the organized NGO that works would put conditions on like X amount will go as, which is a standard 5 to 10% that goes into operational because they have to maintain all the books and balances and then
Right.
also ensure the whole legal process. Sometimes they also go to the extent that they will also take care of some awareness and component that they do. Or else then it would just become that the NGO is I mean, you're using the NGO as a partner to just implement a project. So sometimes it's good to have an awareness component given to them. So that
But
way,
that's fine. But just there are
yeah,
too few more challenges that comes in this model. That
okay, okay,
the challenge basically, in the sense that the most of the things is basically milestone based, right? So
mm,
it goes milestone based. So basically, when
yeah,
you need a capex to involve in the project, right?
mhm.
So there is no upfront payments which is going to come. So once you do it, you achieve a first milestone, then basically the payments will be released. So
No, I
that
mean
becomes
they do provide upfront. It's upon the CSR agency to say how they can give the fund.
no,
So usually it is
we are
50% in the
doing
first
we are doing
tranche.
almost three projects,
Okay.
wherein like the second tranche was about to be like disbursed by October last year. We are still
Mm-hmm.
struggling with them to basically release the second tranche, and we are basically on the verge of ending this project now.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
basically
I
these
think that
challenges.
happens. That only happens if the entity, the NGO that you're collaborating with, is not submitting all the documents on time. So
Mhm.
on that front, sometimes you might have to take the onus of supporting the NGO in making sure all the documents are submitted on time.
No, we have done
Um,
that.
okay, and
So we have
still not
we we
happening.
we
So
have we have done even from our side. We have done the impact report. We have done everything from our side. We have given the complete docket of the impact which
mm,
has been there.
okay,
So these challenges are there. As definitely like we understand this, like out of like say
yeah.
100 cases, there
Yeah.
are like
So
almost
then
20
you
to
can
30
set up
cases
a
which are.
hybrid organization. You can register an NGO for yourself, and with there are hybrid organizations where there is a NGO, there is a non-for-profit also, and I mean it might take 2 to 3 years for you to be able to get the CSR status. Nowadays, I think in 2 years also you get. So that is yet another possibility. I know that the initial years can be tough, but if you register one right away as a Section 8 company, I think in 2 years' time you can do it through your own NGO. I mean, you might have to find different directors though. Like one can be the existing one from your organization plus a few other people whom you think is suitable for NGO. Because since you're anyway working in the water sector, even
Right.
as in the NGO can itself take other projects, not just phytoremediation. They could also take other projects, right? So
Right.
then there is no issue with the vision of both these organizations. Eventually, you're working on water and helping communities.
I think you agree. Because like right now we are working on one of the project wherein we are working on the same model as like NGO, the government body. Basically, the government body will shell out, say, a certain percentage of fund. They are also seeking out support from our side, like if we can get some CSF funds from it for the project. So probably like it works well because like we are looking to treat about 36 billion liters of water for in a year long. So,
Mm.
which basically makes sense, but somehow the
Mm.
challenge is basically to raise the CSR. That
Yeah,
is
also, one other thing from our experience in Alapura is that in Alapura we had set up, water storage systems, rainwater storage systems. But what the NGO did was that even though the implementation was done by someone else, what the NGO ensured to do is that they ensured that the community took the ownership of running the system. So once you set up the system, the capex thing, you will have to work with an NGO or a local partner to ensure that the community take up running and maintenance of the system. In fact, you can also figure out models where, because eventually they are benefited, right? The community is
right.
benefited. They can use the water. They can put in, let's say, I mean, that's how it worked in Alapura. 40,000 liters water storage systems were set up, which was used for drinking purpose. Even though Alapura is rich with water, one of the challenges that they face is that not drinkable water. So this water storage system act as drinkable water regions, and then the community took ownership of maintaining it. Someone goes and cleans it once in a while. Someone ensures that it's maintained, it's reported back. So once you set up the system and once you show the community to run the system, they themselves take care of it. I mean, you should be able to move on to the next project then. So that is also there,
I
except for
agree on that
selling
one.
any particular
I
thing. Yeah.
I agree on that point. But this project is
Hi,
basically
Yeah.
can I intervene for 1 second?
yeah, yeah.
So this is going on too long. It would be great if you could take this offline. You can do that. Sanju and Kiran, if you're okay, I will share your email IDs if anybody wants. Can I do that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, yeah. And because I know these conversations take a long time and
Yeah,
these are things to be discussed in detail.
yeah,
And so, yeah, I just wanted to move
yeah.
on. I'm so sorry.
No,
Uh,
thank you.
quickly, I will just ask, does anybody have any other questions? But we have to keep it like to a minute or so. Because Sanju has a meeting after this and so he has to leave. Anybody else? Please go for it.
I think there's a question in the chat. Kiran, do you want to answer?
That was it's a very basic one. I found a problem in agricultural sector, then I decided to solve the problem and have idea about what to do now. I don't know whether Roshan is still on the call or not. Other one was on I'm planning to start a business in waste management. However, I'm currently looking for a peer in this field to help me develop a sustainable waste management system. Your guidance could be very helpful. Uh, I don't know whether we can answer it right now here, but yeah. So if anyone wants to kind of reach out, maybe do an off.
Yeah, this does seem a little bit very generic, so I don't know
Yeah.
what he wants to know. All right. So yeah, please, Kiran and Sanju, please put down your LinkedIn profiles, the links. I think Kiran, you already did that.
Yeah,
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 We
and
both put it.
yeah, and everybody. Okay, all right. So yeah, all right. Thank you so much. Thank you both of you for coming and making out time for doing this. Really means a lot to us. We needed this. Yeah, thank you so much.
Can
Thank you,
we take
everybody.
a picture if all participants are okay? Like, you can
Yeah,
put your
sure,
videos
sure,
on. I think.
yeah.
sure. Do you want to?
Whoever can put your videos on. Yeah. Oh, hi, Vishnu. Because I was just looking at Kiran and Kiran was looking at me for the longest. Yeah, now good that we know whoever. Okay.
That
So
was
if
a
that is
very
it.
good point.
Yeah. All right, we'll just take a quick snap. Ready? Yeah. 1, 2, 3. All right. Thanks for that.
Okay, thank you. All the very best.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much.
Bye. Bye.
Bye bye.